the Kabbalists tell us that the Sfirat HaOmer is divided into two sections. Lag BaOmer is a timeout, right? From the first day of the counting, which is when, Mikima, the second day of Pesach, until when? The day before, there's a break. That's 32. And then from Lag BaOmer till the end is another 17. So what's significant about that? So the Kabbalists tell us that 32 in Hebrew is Lev. Right? Lev. And from Lag BaOmer till the end, like Rabbi Reuven said, is how many days? Tov, which is Gematria. So the tafkid of Sfirat HaOmer is to acquire, Rabbi Reuven, what? A Lev Tov. That's the tafkid of Sfirat HaOmer. That's why we divide the Omer until Lag BaOmer is Lamed Bet Lev. And from Lag BaOmer till Shavuos is what? Gematria Tov. That's the tafkid of Sfirat HaOmer to acquire a Lev Tov. Unfortunately, the Rabbi Kiva's Talmidim were so heavenly minded, they were no earthly good. Heavenly minded, but no earthly good. They did not acquire a Lev Tov, unfortunately. They could not see the forest for the trees, unfortunately. And Derech Eretz Kodma LaTorah. There's an amazing halacha, Reb Ruvain. You ever hear somebody reading the Torah and he makes a mistake? Everybody jumps on him. They all yell at him. Ooh, I got him. The Tur Orach Chaim in Kuf Mem Bet says, if the Baal Korah made a mistake, not to correct him barabim, shlo ilahal ben pana barabim. Isn't that amazing?
But they do it. But doesn't he have to?
Some people, what? If it doesn't change, Rivka, if it doesn't change the meaning of the word, then you're not allowed to, says the Torah, not allowed to correct him barabim because you're embarrassing him. Unless if it changes the meaning of the word, if it's such a terrible mistake, then you don't jump on him, but you say him politely. But if it doesn't change the meaning of the word, you're not permitted to rebuke him publicly because you're embarrassing him. Interesting. You have to acquire a Lev Tov. You know, the halacha is that Sfirat HaOmer, if you didn't daven Ma'ariv yet and count the Omer, someone asks you right before twilight what the Omer was, and you didn't count yet, you're supposed to say yesterday was what? 25. Right? You're not supposed to say what it is today, because then it's a bracha levatala, right? So this is a Baal Tshuva couple, young couple, and the husband comes home from work, and the wife knows that he did not daven Ma'ariv yet, he did not count Svira. So he asked her, honey, what's for dinner? So she said, well, he didn't daven Ma'ariv yet. She says, well, last night we had schnitzel. Don't you get it? Last night we had schnitzel. A Baal Tshuva couple, you know. Last night we had schnitzel, you know. All right. Now, get it, Esther? Last night we had schnitzel because she figured, you know, connected with not counting the Omer. Last night she... Okay, boo. All right. Last night, the 25th, we had schnitzel. That would be better. Okay. Now, today's shiur is a crash course in Kabbala. What's the difference between authentic Kabbala and Madonna's Kabbala? Well, Madonna's Kabbala, lahavdil, is what's in it for me. Right? My kavod atzmi, to justify my desires. But authentic Kabbala, which this afternoon is about, we're over 40, we can talk, is not what's in it for me, but what's in it for God. How do we access and add kavod shemayim? How do I add kavod shemayim? So, it's authentic Kabbala is how to increase God consciousness amongst the world, right? God awareness amongst the world. Now, Pesach is over, and I thought I'm finished with the Manishtana, right? But Rabbi Aaron, the Magen Avraham in the Shulchan Aruch says, Manishtana Sfirat HaOmer Nishar Mitzvot. You thought you finished with the Manishtana. Other mitzvahs like Kiddush, Shofar, Megillah, Shmei Ka'oneh. Hearing is like what? Saying it. Through shlichut, right? Avo lo b'sfirat HaOmer, says the Morgan Avram, lo b'sfirat HaOmer. Kol echad tzorech lispor la'atzmo, ve'eina yotze b'sfirat chavero. Why? Why is counting the Omer different in Kiddush, Havdalah, Shofar, Megillah, where I can make a shliach and he could blow for me, make Kiddush for me, make Havdalah for me? It's like I did it myself. The Magen Avraham says, Sfirat HaOmer is different. He says, Kol echad tzorech lispor la'atzmo, ve'eina yotze b'sfirat chavero. But he doesn't tell us why. It's a good thing he doesn't tell us why, otherwise I'd be unemployed. He doesn't tell us why. So, al pi Kabbala, the reason is because each and every Jew is unique and special. Only I can contribute my particular share to Tikkun Olam. When we count the Omer, every Jew has to count because every Jew counts. Get it, Reuven? Every Jew counts because every Jew counts. Every person is unique, just like God doesn't run out of fingerprints. Every person, even identical twins, have different fingerprints. Why? Because why? No, it's a good thing you're here this afternoon. Even identical twins have separate fingerprints. So, al pi Kabbala, they knew about that. That's just a dugma. That every person is unique, just like his fingerprints are unique and different. His mission, his tikkun is different. So therefore, I cannot count for you, because your mission is not my mission. Your tikkun is not my tikkun. So therefore, every person is unique in her special way, and all of us can only contribute my way. Da-da-da-da. You do it my way, not your way. Right? So every person is unique. His fingerprints, his mission is unique and special, and that's symbolized by what? That every person has to count for himself. Sfirat HaOmer commands us to make time count. We count every day to make every day count. I think it's called today is the first day of the rest of your life, right? The word usfartem is related to the word sapir. Each and every day has to be cherished, Esther, and unwrapped like a precious sapphire. We'll talk more about that later. Now we count up, not like Cape Kennedy, the final countdown. No, we count up. Why? Because there's a klal malin bakodesh, v'loy meridin. Comes to Kedusha, we count up and we don't count down. Okay? The final countdown? No. We're counting up. And we'll talk more about that. So we said we count every day to make every day count. Why do we count after 49 days between Pesach and Shavuos? Well, there's Memtesh Sharei Tumah. The Jews were a Memtesh Sharei Tumah. 49 levels of Tumah. Corresponding to that, there's Memtesh Sharei Kiddusha. There's 49 levels of what? Kiddusha. So each day we count and God counts. We're counting, shedding one level of Tumah and receiving one level of what? Kiddusha. 49 levels of Tumah, 49 levels of Kiddusha. Now, we count the 7 weeks, 7 times 7. Why do we do that? Before Kabbalah Satorah, we have to prepare ourselves, because each and every year we receive the Torah new. Shavuos is the only holiday that doesn't have a date in the Torah. Isn't that strange? Why? We'll talk about that later. Why? Because the Torah is given each and every day. It says in Matan Torah, Bayom Hazeh. What does Bayom Hazeh mean? Today. So therefore, the Torah is not given on a specific date, because Matan Torah began then. But every time you learn, you're receiving the Torah anew. So therefore, you have to rejuvenate yourself, rejuvenate yourself, and therefore, we have to prepare for Kabbalah Satorah every year. How do we do that? By counting the 7 Sfirot. And why is that? We'll talk about that. The 7 Sfirot, what are the 7 Sfirot? The 7 attributes that God uses to what? To run the world. Chesed, which means love, Gevura, which means inner strength, Tiferet, we'll talk more about that, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, and the seventh one is what? Is Malchut, and we'll talk about it later as we get to our papers, but the 7 attributes, 7 times 7, counting up, getting ready, Reb Moshe, for what? For the main event, which we receive the Torah every year. It's not a one-time deal. Therefore, Shavuos doesn't have any symbols. Like Pesach has matzah, right? And Sukkot has the Arba Minim, and Rosh Hashanah Shofar, because there you're remembering an event in the past. Shavuos has no particular symbol because you're not remembering, you're reliving it. So you don't need any physical symbols unlike the other holidays. So by counting the Svirah, we are getting into the mood to get ready again to receive the Torah, and we'll see how that happens. So the 7 Sfirot are God's 7 attributes, Reb Moshe, that he uses to what? To run the world, as God appears to us in his relationship in the world, right? So the 7 Sfirot, actually 10 Sfirot, but we're only going to talk about the 7 because the other 3, Chochmah, Bina, Dat, Chabad. You got to be a Chabadnik. We're just going to talk about the 7 lowest Sfirot, okay? The other 3, the top 3 that the Ari HaKadosh speaks about is Chochmah, Bina, Dat, which stands for Chabad, but that is not in the scheme of the 7. That's a separate discussion. But our discussion will focus on the 7 Sfirot that are symbolized, Rabbi Yaakov, by the 7 weeks, 7 times 7, leading up to Kabbalah Satorah. They represent the emotional and levels of the human character. The way God interacts with us through these 7 Sfirot. God's Shefa. How do you say that in English? God's abundance. Thank you. God's abundance or God's nozel. God's spiritual flow flows down to us. His divine energy flows down to us through these 7 channels or windows that we call what? Sfirot. The English word sphere. The English word sphere comes from the word sphira. They are spheres that God what? Channels down his divine love and energy and his shefa upon the world. Okay? So we're going to talk about these sfirot. Chesed. Let's talk about chesed. Chesed is what? God's loving kindness. But then you have Gevurah. What is Eze Gibor? HaKovesh es Yitzro. Gibor means self-control, to limit oneself. Right? I mean, who's a Gibor? Charlie Atlas or the Chafetz Chaim? Right? The Chafetz Chaim, even though he was a little man, I think he was 5 feet tall, he was a real Gibor. Right? In the spiritual sense, the Mishnah says, Eze Gibor, HaKovesh es Yitzro, someone that's able to what? Control his Yetzer Hara. So the sphere of Chesed, the sphere, get it? Sphera of Chesed is God's unlimited flow of goodness and kindness to his world. Right? Sharing, giving. On the other hand, you have Gevurah, which is what? Inner strength. That's Yirah. That's limitation, where God pulls back some of his Chesed. Limits his Chesed. Withdrawal. To restrain yourself from giving unlimited kindness. So Gevurah is therefore called Midat Hadin, judgment. The interaction of Chesed and Gevurah, they balance each other. Chesed attracts, while Gevurah what? Repels. Wow. So, and Tiferet, what is Tiferet? That is the blend. You take Chesed and Gevurah, and you blend them together. What do you have? Tiferet. Tiferet or Rachamim. Nochon? Rachamim. Tiferet. That integrates the contrasting elements of Chesed and Gevurah by what? By playing off one against the other. Now, kindness, Chesed, too much Chesed, don't smother me. Give me space. Some children resent their parents because they're smothered with love. Give me space. Too much chesed, unlimited chesed, can produce a Yishmael. Unlimited gevurah, too much self-restraint, like Yitzchak had, can produce what? Esav. It's the tiferet, the blend that Yaakov got from his father and grandfather, the beautiful blend of tiferet, which produced what? The shiftei kah. So, too much chesed sometimes may not be beneficial. A person becomes spoiled and lazy. Unlimited chesed, you wait for your welfare check. All day you sit around playing dominoes and drinking beer and waiting for your welfare check. That's not good. Kindness, chesed, must be tempered with severity, limiting the grants and the gifts to the capacity of the person able to receive it without spoiling him, smothering him, and he becomes what? Totally dependent. There's a pasuk in Pashas Hazinu, Vayishman Yeshurin, when Israel became fat. What do you mean fat? Spiritual cholesterol. Spoiled, Vayivat. Then Israel began to kick. Therefore, in the Midbar, Reb Ruvain, in the Midbar, why did the Jews always rebelled? Rabbi Yehuda. In the Midbar, the Zohar says we're a spoiled child. Whatever we wanted, God gave us. The more He gave us, the more what? The more we complained. That's human nature. You give everything on a silver platter. The human being, Vayishman Yeshurin, Vayivat. So therefore, God's chesed aura has to be tempered with what? With gevurah, that the person should be able to absorb the chesed without becoming spoiled, lazy, or ungrateful. So therefore, a lazy boy. Remember that chair? The lazy boy. Yeah. Yeah. Very interesting. Now, what are the sfirot? We'll get to the paper soon. What are the sfirot? They are Hashem's midot. What does midot mean? Measures, attributes, qualities, vessels, and tools that God uses to direct, govern, control the world. The word sfira, as we said before, Esther, comes from the word asapir, brilliant sapphire. It says by Matan Torah in Parshas Mishpatim, Vayirut Elhei Yisrael, the Jews had a mystical vision of God. V'tachad raglav, this is Exodus 24, V'tachad raglav kemase livnat hasapir. They saw God's throne of glory, which livnat hasapir, sapphire brick. Why is the sky blue, Daddy? Why is the sky blue? So the Gemara Menachos says, because the sky is blue, it's a reflection of God's kisei hakovot, which the kisei hakovot is what? Sapir. Sapir. Why is it sapir? From the word sfira, God's goodness flows, the sfirat flow from his kavayochel. He doesn't need a chair, it's all allegory, flows from his livnat hasapir, the same word. The shiny lights that reveal and express God's greatness and power and God's goodness. So sapir, sapphire, the sky is blue to remind us that God's shefa, his spheres, emanate from him, kavayochel, from his throne of glory, his sovereignty, which are the 7 shiny lights that we call sapphire lights from the word sfira. In Kabbalistic language, God is called the Ein Sof. Know what that means? My endless love. Endless, right? Therefore, all of the planets, the Zohar says, were round. Now, before Galileo, Yehuda, there were no telescopes. The Zohar said all the planets are round, because when an artist finishes a masterpiece, he signs his name. What's God's masterpiece? The universe. What's God's signature? The circle. The circle. The Ein Sof. So the Zohar knew before Galileo that all the planets are round. That symbolizes God's endless love for mankind, and that God is endless. The Ein Sof. So the artist, the masterpiece, signed his masterpiece, the universe, with his signature, which is the circle. Therefore, all the planets are what? Round. No coincidence. So, what are the Sfirot? The Sfirot are actual 7 portals. Is that the right word? Portals? Or windows into the spiritual world. There are 7 lights that emanate from God's spiritual world. Now, whatever God created, he created in 2. Right, Rabbi Yaakov? The human being is made up of body and soul. Right? There's 2 Torahs. There's 2 worlds. There's Olam Hazeh, Olam Haba. There's a physical world. There's a spiritual world. Right? The human being is made up of body and soul. Also 2. The Torah is Nigla v'Nistar. There's hidden Torah and there's revealed Torah. And there's Torah Shebiktav. And there's also what? Torah Shebal Peh. Everything God created, man and woman. Everything God created, couples. Therefore, the first letter in the Torah, David, is a bet. What is bet gematria? God created everything in the world, 2. Question is why? Okay? But everything is 2, except he's the one and only. Right? We're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Everything is 2, right? AC/DC, I think it's called. AC/DC. Moshe. Zochar Nekeva, right? Double your pleasure, double your fun. God created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Right, Michael?
Right.
Anyway, so this all binary system, bet, bereshit, gematria bet. So anyway, the windows, the 7 sfirot, are windows into the Olam HaNistar. It's a peek into eternity. We're blinded by the razzle-dazzle of Olam HaNigla. This world is full of smoke and mirrors. The Olam HaSheker blinds us and dazzles us. The Sfirot, we count the Sfira to filter out the Sheker. To filter out. The world is so full of Sheker. Look at Martin Indyk, John Balkari. The whole world is so full of Sheker. Where to blame? That the piss process didn't work out. Where to blame? Abu Mamzer is not to blame. Where to blame? So says Martin Indyk and John Balkari. Die the Olam HaSheker. So therefore, God opens up these 7 windows to filter out all the sheker in the world. A peek into Olam HaEmet. So the question is, why did God have to set up these parallel worlds? So much sheker, and he has to hide behind the Sfirot. We know God's love is unconditional. So therefore, God contracts himself, kavayochel. It's called tzimtzum. Tzimtzum means what? Contract, to limit himself. Give me space. God limited himself, kavayochel, to give us space in order to develop our spiritual growth and our spiritual progress. So therefore, the world is called olam, Moshe. The word olam is the same root as the word ne'elam. What does ne'elam mean? Peekaboo. Hidden, right? So why did God create 2 parallel worlds? And he hides behind the mask of the Sfirot? Because God has to give us space for us to develop our unique personality and our individuality. Each person has to count for himself, to develop himself, to do his own tikkun olam. No one can do it my way. There's a pasuk in the Torah, V'alachta b'drachav. There's a mitzvah in the Torah, mitzvah Tov Reish Yud Aleph. What's that? Mitzvah 611 of the 613 of Yaakov is V'halachta b'drachav, to walk in God's ways. What does that mean? When you truly love somebody, you must not crowd him. You have to give him space to perfect and develop himself, just like God did, by giving us space, by limiting himself, kavayochel, to give us space, even if it means that we're going to fall and stumble. The Baal Shem Tov says, how do you teach a child to walk? How? The parent, let's go, and the parent moves back, and the kid what? Walks and he falls. And he gets up and he walks and he falls. If the parent wouldn't allow the child to fall, says the Baal Shem Tov, the child will grow up a cripple. He wouldn't learn how to walk if he wouldn't fall. Said the Baal Shem Tov, if that's true in the physical world, Reb Moshe, it's certainly true what? There's a pasuk in Mishlei, Sheval Yipol Tzadik. The Tzadik will fall and stumble 7 times. Why is he called a Tzadik? V'kam, because he gets up. See, both the Tzaddik and the Rasha fall. Moshe, it's inevitable. There's a pasuk in Koheles chapter 7. Adam ein Tzaddik ba'oretz asher yaseh tov v'lo yechta. Every human being falls. So what's the difference between a Tzaddik and a Rasha? The Rasha remains in the mud. Why should I get up? I like it in the mud. The Tzaddik also falls. That's right. There's no hope for me. Yiyush. That's the Yetzer Hara. Yiyush. The tzaddik falls, but the Kam, he also falls, just like the Rasha, but he gets up. He does not fall into Yiyush. How do you say that in English? Despair. I fell. Next time I'll do better. Next time I'll do better. If at first you don't succeed, try again. That's why he's a tzaddik. The Baal Shem Tov gives it a very interesting kvetch here. Shevo yipol tzaddik v'kam, says the Baal Shem Tov, hu tzaddik rak ache sheyipol sheva. Yiddish Baron. What is a person a tzaddik? Only when he falls 7 times, and he's still not discouraged, and he keeps getting up, only then can he be called what? Otherwise he'll be a cripple. He'll never learn how to walk. If you don't allow the child to stumble and fall, he'll never develop. And if that's true in the physical world, it's what? Certainly it's true in the spiritual world. Every yirida, the tzorech aliyah. Wow. So God has to pull back behind the sfirot to give us bechira chofshis. How do you say that in English? Free choice. Because only through freedom of choice can we develop spiritual growth and spiritual progress. When the going gets tough, Moshe, the tough go shopping. No, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Interesting Talmudic passage in Tractate Avodah Zarah, Yehuda. The Talmud says that when Mashiach comes, God will remove the Yetzer Hara from mankind. Perform open heart surgery, Deuteronomy 30, Pasuk 6. God will perform open heart surgery, but allegorically, the Ramban says that means he will remove the Yetzer Hara from our heart. And the Talmud of Avodah Zarah says that the Rishayim will cry when Mashiach comes, because it'll be Miller time. But strangely, it says that tzaddikim will also cry. So the Maharsha asked the question of Moshe, why will the tzaddikim cry? When God removes the Yetzer Hara, it's Miller time. Why will the tzaddikim cry? Says the Maharsha, because no pain, no gain. Remember the Pepsi commercial? No pain, no gain. If that's true in the physical world, Esther, it's certainly true in the spiritual world. What made a person a tzaddik? It's the struggle with the Yetzer Hara. But without the struggle, you're stuck in neutral. Wow. The Medrash says that. Without the Yetzer Hara, we're stuck in neutral. Right? It's the struggle that makes a person great. Right? Otherwise, the spiritual muscles become what? Flabby. Whatever is in the physical attribute, atrophy. So right, Rivka said, it's so true. Whatever's true in the physical world, is certainly true in the spiritual world. Without the struggle, the spiritual muscles Thank you very much. So therefore, when Mashiach comes, Yehuda, the tzaddikim will cry, because no pain, no gain. You're stuck in neutral. Gemara in Avodah Zarah, Daf Gimel. But the Rasha explains why the tzaddikim will cry, yes?
We're not embarrassing you by saying the right word. We're just helping you correct.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, huh?
What?
What? Right.
And also, all 12 tribes gave the same gift one after another.
Right.
Is that connected to why we have to count as well?
No. That's next week's shir. Don't mix me up. All right? This is one at a time. This is why you have to come back. Now we're going to discuss that Mrs. Ziegler asked me the 7 sfirot. Please take a look at your sheets, please. Now, the entire Kabbalistic system of all the Kabbalists is based on one pasuk in 1 Chronicles. Chronicles 29:11. Do you know that? The entire Kabbalistic scheme is based on 1 Chronicles 29:11. Divra Hayomim Aleph.
29:11 is
Chof Tet Pasuk Yud Aleph. Oh. So what? No, but keep in mind, Rivka, that the chapters are not Yiddish. The Barbanel told us that the chapters have nothing to do with Jewish tradition. These are Bible. The one who print the Christian Bible printers made up these chapters, and the Barbanel says we adopted it because they always challenged us to debates, so we had to be what? On the same page. But the chapters and the numbers of the verses have no significance in Yahadut. We use them because we needed to be on the same page with them when they always challenged us for debates. But for convenience, we continue to use them. But they have no authenticity in Yahadut, yes? Okay, you're right. Okay. But anyway, look at Pasuk 11. This is a background music. This is King David right before he dies. Esther, you have it in front of you? King David right before he dies says, Pasuk 11, L'cho Hashem ha'gedulah. To you, God, is the great chesed. Who does that represent? There's 7 shepherds. There's 7 sfirot. David, there's 7 weeks. Who are the first of the 7 shepherds? Abraham. He is gedulah, says the Ari. What's gedulah? The great chesed. That's Avraham Avinu. The great chesed. But again, chesed unchecked. It's not managed. It's not controlled. Can produce Yishmael, Abu Mamzer. V'hagvura. Who is that? Yitzchak, the great self-restraint. Imagine willing to be a korban for Hashem, accepting it, not complaining. That's great inner strength. That's gevura. Right, Rabbi Yaakov? But gevura, if it's not tempered, is that the right word? Tempered? Can produce Esav. Ooh. So Gevura is Yitzchak. He's the second shepherd. V'atiferet. The great blend, the beauty. I think it's called the mosaic, David. No? The shiftei call each of the 12 tribes. Each one had their unique flag. Right? The beautiful mosaic. That's Yaakov. The Tiferet. The blend of Chesed and what? And Gevura. That's number 3, the third shepherd. Who's the 4th shepherd? Netzach. Moshe Rabbeinu is Netzach. What does Netzach mean? Forever. Eternity. We still call him, David, Moshe Rabbeinu. 3,326 years later, we still call him Moshe Rabbeinu, like he would hear today. That's Netzach. The eternal Moshe, the eternal Torah. Torat Moshe. It's eternal. It doesn't get old, David. It doesn't get outdated. It's Netzach. Moshe Rabbeinu, the lawgiver.
Moshe Rabbeinu is equal to 613.
Wow.
It's not mine. I read that.
Wow. So the 4th shepherd is Moshe Rabbeinu. That's Netzach. Yes? The 5th shepherd is Aaron. Aaron is Hod. Hod. The fifth shepherd is Aaron. That's Hod. You see, it's in the pasuk, Rabbi Yaakov. Why is Aaron Hod? Hod means total submission to God. When Aaron's two sons were struck dead, Esther, what was Aaron's reaction? Vayidom Aaron. The English word dumbfounded. Where does the English word dumbfounded come from? Vayidom Aaron. That's the moment of silence. They got that from us, Reb Ruvain. Moshe, you know that? Vayidom, Aaron remained dumbfounded. He said nothing. That's total submission to God's will. That's Hod. Wow. Total submission to God's will. That's the moment of silence. The English word, Esther, dumbfounded, all comes from us. Now, number 6, Kichol b'shamayim v'oretz. The foundation of heaven and earth. Who's the foundation? Yesod? Yosef HaTzadik. Why is Yosef HaTzadik the foundation? Yehuda, can you have a seat, please? It's a little disturbing. Okay. Yesod. Why is Yosef HaTzadik Yesod? Esther, remember the entire Middle East was suffering under severe famine. Look in the book of Genesis. The Middle East was starving. Who saved the Middle East from famine? Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik was the Yesod, was the foundation of the world. Without him, the entire world would have starved to death, not just his family. It was a worldwide famine. It says Kol Haaretz, it says the entire earth. So Yosef HaTzadik was the foundation not only of his family, but of the entire world, saving the world from starvation. So Yosef HaTzadik is the sixth shepherd. He is what? Yesod. And L'cho Hashem HaMlacha.
Why does it say by Shemayim?
Bashamayim Ubaretz.
Why does it say by Shemayim, by Yosef?
Bashamayim Ubaretz. What? Because Yosef, he was the, what's the word? Quintessential. Ben Adam Lamakam Adam Lechavero. Very good point. Bashamayim Ubaretz. Yosef HaTzadik, what a mensch. Not just between what? Man and man, but between man and God. Right? Mrs. Potiphar, she kept pestering him and seducing him. Every day she put on a new miniskirt. The Talmud says that. Every day a new miniskirt. And even one day hot pants. And he what? Look at the Talmud, it's very graphic about it. And he wouldn't give in. He's the ultimate Bashamayim Ubaretz. The ultimate Ben Adam Lamakayim, Shamayim, and Ben Adam Lechavera, which is what? Aretz. L'cho Hashem HaMlacha. King David says, to you, God, is the great kingship. Right? So who's the seventh shepherd? Who's Malchut? King David. Now, we do something very strange. We'll take questions later. In the middle of Kiddush Levana, Rabbi Yaakov, we do something very strange. We start singing, David, Melech Yisrael, Chai, Chai, Vekayam. What has it got to do with the price of tea in China? Why in the middle of Kiddush Levana, Yehuda, do we sing David, Melech Yisrael, Chai, Vekayam? Why? Give up? The Talmud tells us that the Levana has no light of its own. It only a pale reflection of the sun. On its own, it has nothing. A pale reflection of the sun. So King David, we sing by Kiddush Levana, David Melech Yisrael Chai V'Kayam, that King David is saying, I am just like the moon. Just, you're saying, I'm the great king, your majesty. Everybody was singing to him, right? Praising him. I'm the great king. I'm just like the moon. I have nothing on my own. Whatever I possess, all my majesty and power, it's only a pale reflection of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Oh, like the moon has no light of its own, it's only a gift from the sun. So King David attributed all of his power, Esther, and all of his glory, he reflected it back to the source, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, King David is Malchut. He's the Melech HaMashiach. Because he will teach the world that all glory and all power belongs to God. I'm just a pale reflection, just like the moon is only a pale reflection of the sun, but have nothing on its own. So therefore, by Kiddush Levana, we sing David, Melech Yisrael. Now, so you might think that you have God figured out. You have the 7 sfirot, the 7 windows, the channels. That's what God is all about, Moshe. What's the next verse? V'hamisnaseh l'chol roish. You, God, are way above all the sfirot. Oh. You, God, are way above all the sfirot. Now, we know there's 7 sfirot. Is it a coinky-dinky, Yehuda? How many colors of the rainbow are there? 7. Coinky-dinky? 7 sfirot. 7 times 7. 7. Michael. 7th heaven. And the bride, 7-11. 7 brides for 7 brothers. Oh, Michael, please sit down. Now, the Ramban, the great Kabbalist, told us, 1 minute please, that there are 7 colors to the rainbow, which represent the 7 sfirot. Now, the Ramban says something amazing. We know that the 7 colors of the rainbow, that's only a prism. Not a prison, a prism. Are there really 7 colors to the rainbow? Says the Ramban, it's all white. But to us it appears as 7 colors. That's a dugma. That all the 7 sfirot, that's the way God appears to us. But He is the ultimate unity. Just like all the 7 colors of the rainbow are really only white. The ultimate unity, but they appear to us this way. That's a dugma for the way God appears to us through these 7 prisms, not prisons, but from God's perspective, Moshe, it's all one. The most important statement of the Jewish religion, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Listen, Jew, Hashem is Midas Harachamim. Hashem is good times, lovey-dovey. Elokeinu, what's Elokeinu? Auschwitz, terrorism. Hashem Echad. From God's perspective, somehow it's all one and the same. Frightening. So why do we cover our eyes when we say that? Because I can't see it. I believe that Hashem and Eloheinu is Echad. I believe that whatever God does is all for the best. But I can't see it. So I have to cover my eyes. But Zechariah 14 says, Bayoimahu Yi Hashem Echad Ushmo Echad. On that day, God and His name will be one. So the Talmud says in Psachim 50, now He's not one. So what's the answer? Now in this world, while I'm inside my bodysuit, I can't see how Yudke Vavke, the good things that God does, and Elokeinu, and the punishment, I can't see how it's Echad. I believe it, but I can't see it, so I cover my eyes. But Bayoim Ahu, in Olam Haba, looking back from the perspective of what? Of eternity, I will actually see that Hashem Echad, Ushmo Echad. Now I only believe it, I can't see it. But Bayoim Ahu, when the bodysuit is no longer needed, and we break on through to the other side, after 120, we will see that Hashem Echad, Ushmo Echad, and that's the ultimate statement of a loyal Jew. Whatever God does, it's all for the best. Okay, now, Sfirat HaOmer. Sfirat HaOmer, we count up to the great event, right? We count up to the great event. And why do we stay up Shavuos night all night? So the Magen Avraham brings a medrash that the night, that day when God was ready to give us the Torah, sleeping beauty, we overslept. So why was there thunder and lightning and a shofar chazak ma'od? To wake us up. Can you imagine? The Kala slept late. I think it's the name of a book. The bride slept late. The rabbis, right? We overslept. So God had to wake us up. God had to wake us up with the thunder and lightning and what? And the shofar. Koilas Abrokim, so the Rav Soloveitchik says he doesn't understand this is a strange medrash. How could sleeping beauty oversleep? The reason we count the Sphira, one reason, the Sefer Chinuch and the Rambam tell us, it's when God took us out of Egypt, he said, in 50 days I'll give you the Torah. So when a person is promised a great treasure in 50 days, what does he do, David? He counts. Anticipation. Counting up. Another day closer to the great treasure or to the great wedding. So the Jews are anticipating, eagerly counting, and all of a sudden when the great day comes, buddy, we fall asleep. He doesn't understand the Medrash, says Rav Soloveitchik.
He got too tired.
Huh?
He was too tired.
So when the main event comes, do you fall asleep? Huh? So the Soloveitchik says something incredible. How does a Navi normally get a Nevuah? Look at Pasuk Ba'alocha. It says, B'chalom adabre bo. A normal Navi gets a Nevuah in a dream. In order to a dream, not the Jews fell asleep, David. They purposely went to sleep. Because God said in 50 days, I'll give you the Torah. You'll be a prophet. A normal prophet gets b'chalom adabre bo, pasuk b'halotcha. So in order to dream, Yehuda, dream a little dream of me, you have to go to sleep. Not the Jews fell asleep. They purposely went to sleep to get the Nevuah. But if you look in Deuteronomy 4, it says, Panim bepanim diber Hashem imachem, bahar mitoch ha'esh. Panim bepanim. What? No. Panim, article says face to face. But that's not true. Because how do you say face to face in Hebrew? Panim el panim. It doesn't say panim el panim diber Hashem imachem. It says panim bepanim. Face in your face. Isn't that amazing? In your face? They got everything from us. Rabbeinu Art School, don't play with the text. It doesn't say face to face. That would be panim el panim. It says panim bepanim, Deuteronomy 4, God's face, kaviyachol, in your face, did he speak to us. Now, the only prophet who got panim bepanim was Moshe Rabbeinu. For that one special day of Shavuos, Moshe, all of us reached the level of what? Moshe Rabbeinu, not just prophecy. The Yidden underestimated themselves. They figured they had to go to sleep to get the Nevuah. The normal Navi, b'chalom. But God says, Kinderlach, on Shavuos, all of you will reach the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. Wake up! The message of Shavuos night, says Rav Soloveitchik, don't underestimate yourself. On Shavuos night, we can reach the level of panim bepanim, the level of Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe remained at that level. We crashed. 40 days later, golden calf disco. Right? We couldn't hold that magic moment, right? So how could it be a nation of slaves can reach the level of panim bepanim? So the message is Svirat HaOmer tells us to make time count. Why is time called Zman? In Hebrew, time is called Zman. Zman in Hebrew means hineni muchanim zuman. An invitation in Hebrew is called hazmana. Same word as man. What? Mezuman also means to prepare yourself. Hineni muchanim zuman. Hineni muchanim zuman. I'm preparing myself to do the mitzvah of Sprecher HaOmer. So the word zman, which means time, also means to prepare yourself. As the Mishnah says, this world is compared to a corridor. Hasken asal of a prosdor, the kones to traklin. Isn't that amazing? Zman, time, is the word for preparing. This world is not to kill time or to waste time. This world is to prepare ourselves for the great banquet. How do you say now in Hebrew? No, in English. In English, present. Why is it a present? Because it's a gift. Ooh, Aura, you can't go back to San Diego. Ooh. time is the present. It's the great now is the present. The past, the present. The now is a present. Savor the moment. It's a gift of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The secret of Sfirat HaOmer is to appreciate the present. The now. There's a beautiful poem that my Rabbi taught me in Hebrew. Adam doeg al ibid damav. A person worries that he's losing his money. Ve'ena doeg al ibud yamav. But he's not worried that he's losing his days. Damav einam ozrim. His money will not help him on his final day. V'yamim einam chozrin. And what? His days never come back. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Sfiras HaOmer, take one day at a time. Live every day as it would be what? The last day. If we did that, I haven't got time for the pain. If I lived every day as it would be the first day of the rest of my life, could I have time to be upset with my friend?
No.
Could I have time to be jealous?
No.
Could I have time to be resentful?
No.
Today is the first day of the rest of your life. I haven't got time for the pain. Moshe, they got everything from us. I haven't got time for the day. You deal with today. What? Today. One day at a time. What? Pretty interesting.
That's why it's in cardinals number.
That's, yeah. Now, Sfirat HaOmer teaches us that there's no challenge in life that is so great that you can't be overcome if it's only broken down in manageable pieces. How could the Jews come in Memtesh Shari Tuma in 49 days to Memtesh Shari Kedusha? How? Gradual spiritual growth. The achievements of today becomes a resource for the challenges of the next day. I think it's called day by day. If you look in the book of Kings, Kings 1, chapter 8, Pasuk 59, when Shlomo HaMelech dedicates the Beis HaMikdash, he says, Umishpat Amo Yisrael, Devar Yom B'Yomo. Judge us, but judge us each day in its day by day. The message of Sfiras HaOmer is that living one day at a time is a year-round success formula for facing and confronting the tough challenges of life and achieving spiritual growth. Everyone has issues. I think it's called issues. Their neighbors, their family, there's issues. And sometimes it's justified issues. Resentment, anger, he did this, he said that, he took away my aliyah, took away my turn. Issues. Everyone has issues. How do you deal with the issues? If you came just to hear this, there's an amazing pasuk in Parshas Vayechi. Yaakov calls his grandchildren, before his children, to bless them, Ephraim and Menashe. It says, Vayevorchem bayoim mahu lemor. He blessed them on that day, saying, now, this took place 3,700 years ago. He blessed them on that day, buddy. Was it Wednesday or Tuesday? Why should I care? The Torah is not a history book. It says, Vayevarchem b'yom lemor. He blessed them on that day, repeating. Does it mean? What day was it, David? Sunday afternoon or Monday? He blessed them on that day. There are no extra words in the Torah. So what? Bayoima, he blessed them on that day. Why should I care what day it was? What does the word lemor mean? Repeating what, Connie? Got to tell this to Dr. Abramson. My Rebbe Rapam Zatzal, you have to know where to put the commas. Let's eat, Grandpa. Let's eat, Grandpa. Now you're talking, Sonny. What's for dinner?
Grandpa.
Listen to this, Esther. Vayevarchem, he blessed them, comma, bayoimahu lemor. What's the greatest blessing a grandfather can give to a child on his deathbed? Lemor means repeat. Keep repeating to yourself Bayoy Mahu, every day of my life is that special day. Vayevarchem Kama, Bayoy Mahu Lemor, the secret to a happy, successful life. How to get rid of the resentment, Yehuda, and the envy and the anger. Bayoy Mahu Lemor, keep repeating. Lemor means keep repeating to yourself. Bayoy Mahu, every day of my life is what? That day. Who knows what will be a tomorrow? You have a contract? If you live every day of your life by Yom Mahu, then I haven't got time for the anger. I haven't got time for the resentment. I haven't got time for the shtuyot of envy. So he said that, he did that. Every day is by Yom Mahu. Every day is that special day. If I keep lamor, I keep repeating that to myself, then you have a wonderful life. I haven't got time for the nonsense. People think they have a long time here, so they have time to be angry, they have time to be resentful, they have time to be upset. But if every day is Vayoy Mahu, if the day is the first day of the rest of your life, which is a message of Svirah, you have no time for the shtuyot. So every day of your life is full of meaning and spiritual growth and progress. What he says or does cannot affect me. All I have is what? So I have no time to waste on nonsense. Isn't that a marvelous bracha that a grandfather gives to a child? An outlook of life, David. So he did it, he said that, so what? Today is all I got. Today is Bayoy Mahu. And if we all lived like that, what a wonderful world it would be. Ta 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 ta.